safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we're taking the quest. Join Tarcia on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey Podcast. I am your host, Tarcia Smith, and welcome back, y'all, to another week and another journey. Before I get started, I have two things. Number one, y'all make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, do all the things in all the places. And also, Black Adoptees Meetup. Make sure you go follow us on IG or check out the website, blackadopteesmeetup.org. We have a meetup coming up in October 3rd through the 5th that you do not want to miss, Black Adoptees. So, because we had a time in Atlanta last year. So now that I got all that out of the way, I have a fellow adoptee in the building by the name of Kim. Hello, Kim.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I cannot complain.
So let the people know who you are. And I know you have a business as well. So go ahead and shout that out.
So I am Kim Hill. I am the founder of I Am Tailor Made, a nonprofit organization who caters to children with incarcerated parents. And then I also have two profit business. One is Tailor Made Creations, which is a party rental company. And the other company is Tailor Made Customs, which is a custom print shop.
Okay.
And I'm out of Orlando, Florida.
Fellow Orlando.
Yes.
So we're both in O-Town. Well, you're in the vicinity. I'm in Orlando. You're in the vicinity. Well,
yes.
You know what? I'm on the outskirts. I'm not in Orlando. Orlando proper, let's say that.
I don't know. Are you a Florida girl? Are you a Floridian?
I was not born here, but I've been here since I was 1, so I think I can claim it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I can
You
claim
are definitely a Floridian. Oh, God.
I can claim it. Are you born and raised here?
I was actually born here, out of Richmond Heights. So, you know, I was raised in Richmond Heights.
Okay. I just talked to somebody not too long ago from the same area, Richmond Heights. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. See how we all here together, you know, nobody knows.
Right. So let's start right there. You were born in Orlando. And I want to start with, how old were you when you found out that you were adopted?
So when I found out I was adopted, I was like in I was actually in elementary. I'm sorry. I was in elementary.
Okay. So in elementary, did you know anything prior to finding out, or did you just feel like,
I did not. I had a closed adoption, so I thought my parents was my parents, and that was it. I look like them. I feel like I act like them. So no, I did not know. Mm-mm.
Okay. And how did you find out? Who spilled the beans?
So actually, so I do have a book. So in my book, I don't want to spill the beans, but I want y'all to get a little glimpse, but I want you to get the book too. So I was being nosy one day and stumbled upon a folder and opened the folder up, and that's how I found out.
That is something we tend to have in common. I'm finding as adoptees, we are nosy. We will go through some paper.
Nosy. And I don't even think it was nosy that I thought that something was, that I was actually looking for something.
Just going through stuff.
Yeah, I was just going through, and it wasn't like it was, hidden or anything like that. I don't know. She probably would have never thought that I was in the where it was, because
someplace you hadn't had no business being.
No, it wasn't. That's what I'm saying. It was like open, like it was in our living room. So back in the days they used to have like the china cabinets.
Yeah.
So it was
in the china cabinet with the rest of the bills.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. It definitely was. Yep. But it had its own little neat little folder, and then I think it was the folder that drew to me.
You was still someplace you had no business, but you're not supposed to be in the china cabinet.
Not supposed to be in it because it has china dishes and everything, and if you
Right.
break
So
it,
for real
you're gonna get
has
your behind toe
you're gonna
up.
be in trouble. So you was someplace you wasn't supposed to be.
Absolutely, yes.
So okay, so you get this paper. What do you do? Walk
So
me
I
through
was
that.
reading it, and of course, when you're younger, intellectually, you don't know. Like I'm like, you're reading and I start seeing checks and all of that stuff, and it was like, like what is this? And then I'm looking at the
Mm-hmm.
name on it, and it says it says the adoption agency on it, and it had
Okay.
my parent. It actually had my dad's name on it, and so I was like, what is this? And after a while, so I ended up calling my auntie, and I was like, I was talking to I called my auntie, but I asked her to put my cousin on the phone. Then I was asking, what is adoption? What is that? And then she said, where did you see that at? She was like, where did you see that at? And I was like,
Okay.
oh, I was reading something and I found it and I just wanted to know what it was. And it went from there. It was like, I don't remember what her response was, but it was definitely like like what? Like what is it? Like where do you see that from? She was kind of startled, like
Right.
like where she got that from? You know what I'm saying?
So when you loop around to your parents, when this, how long do they immediately call your parents and be like, child?
No. So so I think how it happened was um my mom, I lived with my mom at the time. So my parents weren't together, they were not together anymore.
Okay.
So it was just me and
Okay.
my mom. And so once my auntie said, whatever she said, I don't remember her exact words. And my mom was the type of person like you can't walk up to her and ask her nothing. Like, don't even think about it. Like, so I think I didn't never ask them. I never asked my actual parents until I actually started like misbehaving, and it came to the point where once I figured out what adoption was, I think inside like I held it in for so long.
Okay, wait, hold on. So you didn't ask,
Nope.
but you walking around with this information because
So
now
what
you.
happened? So when my auntie told me, and I think I might have asked my mom like um I might have asked her like, what is adoption or what is that? And then she said, she might have asked me like, what are you talking about? No, I don't want to talk about that right now. She said like something like that, like I don't want to talk about it right now. And then she's
Your
like,
aunt.
where did you see that at? And then I said, oh, over there in the living room or whatever. I got a whooping for it. I got a whooping for going in the folder. Like I got a whooping for going inside of the cabinet. But the conversation, we never talked about it clearly until later on.
I'm laughing because that whooping wasn't for the cabinet. That whooping was because you found out something you weren't supposed to find out.
Exactly, exactly. Because she never, what I'm saying, she never said, she was like that type of person that was like, when you ask her something, she's like, what? Like, girl, what? And then she said, where did you see that at? And instead of her answering whatever I asked her that day, because it's been so
Uh-huh.
long ago, but I remember that she tore my behind up for going in the
Going
china
in the
cabinet. She tore
china
my behind up
cabinet.
for going a place that I shouldn't have been. You know what I'm saying? Being nosy. That's what she tore my behind up for. So I got tore up that day. When I tell you I got tore up from the rooter to the tutor, I got tore up.
And for those of y'all with looking crazy right now, back in the day, that's just what they did. This is
Yes,
child abuse. Back then, they
yes. And it was like, and I go back to, what goes on in my house stays in my house. So it's
stays
kind of
in
like
the
that kind of
house. Right, right,
situation.
right. What's
Like
still a rule?
I
Is
talked
that
about it more so with my auntie, but I don't think it was until later on that I actually talked to my dad, and I was like, this happened because now I'm in a place after I get a whooping, like feeling lonely. Like, why did what's the problem?
okay?
Like,
Hold on,
what
because yeah,
what
I
was
was
so
just getting
big
ready to.
about that I
I
had to
was
get a
just getting
whooping
ready to
about
say.
it?
Right. I was just getting ready to ask you that. How is this when the behavior starts to change, or are you just
Yes.
questioning? Or?
Yes, that's
Okay.
when the behavior
So,
started to change. I started getting very rebellious, very isolated. I was very isolated.
mm,
Like my childhood itself was a very lonely childhood because like my mom, she didn't let me go outside like during the weekday. Like there was
are you
no,
an only child?
yes, I
Okay.
was. So I didn't have any siblings or anything. So my mom had like this strict, my mom was like really strict, like drill sergeant. And that my
Mm,
kids were like, that's where you get it from. But it's not. It's I think like during the school days, I think they should study more. You know, letting
right.
them go outside is like it's a distraction, just like Facebook and Instagram and all
You
that
got
stuff.
kids that still want to go outside?
I mean, where they did a while ago. My kids are
Oh,
older. My kids are older
even
now.
when my kids was young, well, not the older two, but this last of the Mohicans that we got over here, he's of that generation. But you know what? That's neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I'm
My
back.
kids like to
I'm
go
back.
outside.
I'm back. Um, so tell me, at what point, like, how much were you getting in trouble? Like, are you going to the principal's office,
I was
suspension, in
fighting. Yes,
trouble?
I
Oh,
used.
you
I
got
was. I
the,
had started
you
fighting.
got in
I
them
was
streets.
fighting like any little thing. It was like any little thing you said something to me, I would fight you. Like
You
I didn't
popping
take
off.
no. It was go from 0 to 1,000 real fast.
And how long did that last? How long did you?
So I think it lasts for a period of time. I think it lasts for a period of time. Probably.
Because
I
all
mean,
this started in elementary. So
it started
now,
in elementary. Yeah, it started in elementary. Um, and then I ended up having to. I went to elementary, but when I was in elementary, I started going to I wasn't going to my babysitter's house anymore.
okay,
Like my dad took me from where I was going every day, and I think I was kind of mad. So it's two things played a part in the behavior.
okay,
Because he took me from a place that I know to be like my house, my second house, and I started going just walking straight to his house. And even though back then me and my dad we had a good relationship, um
hmm
it still was like so much that I felt like that was really hidden, and it caused me. And then I'm a PK's kid.
Oh,
So,
for those that don't know,
yep, I'm a PK's kid. And
she's
so,
preacher scared. For
yep,
y'all
and so I
that don't
had
know what
like,
that PK is.
oh God, I had double whammies. I had double
Yes.
whammies like,
So your father
rejection.
is a preacher. Your dad's a preacher.
Yes. Well, he passed
Okay.
away in June. Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry
No,
to
it's
hear.
okay. Um, but it was now the adoption, pre-K, PK's kid,
PK kid.
and now, you know, pulling me away from, you know, what I knew to be like my second house.
Okay, so let me just clarify. So even though they were divorced, you were living with your mom, but your father's still in your life. So you're still splitting your time in between the
Yes,
two
yes, ma'am.
homes.
So my dad is so crazy because my dad stayed on the front end of Richmond Heights, and then my mom
Okay,
stayed on the back end. So I didn't
got
have very far to like travel or go. Like when I'm walking home, I could just go to my dad's house because I would get to his house before I got to my mom's house.
okay. So at what point do you say anything to your dad about this papers that you found? Are you still holding this to your chest? 'Cause that's a lot.
I definitely was still holding it. I think one day, I had got mad, and then I was like, like in the TV show, like, you're not really my daddy.
Oh,
My daddy, like,
yeah.
y'all can't tell me nothing because y'all don't even know. Like, I'm not, like, what? Like, so it was at that point, like, I got suspended. I was getting suspended, and it was so many things that were going on. And when they pulled me to the side and was like really trying to figure out what is your problem? And I was like, well, I want to know where I came from. So that's how it
Oh,
came out.
so are
Like
we
I
in
was
high
like, I
school
want to
by
know where I
now?
came from because you guys are not my parents.
Are we in high school by now? That this
So I was in
filing.
middle school.
Oh, you in middle school.
Yep.
And tell me, oh, and I have a visual for how your mother is. So how did
Hmm.
she respond to that?
So my mom still didn't never tell me. Like she never sat and said it was never like she
Oh,
still
yeah.
never said like you're adopted. Like she still never said it. It was my dad. He basically sat me down and was telling me, about my mom's situation and what happened. And she came home one day and she was like, I want to adopt the baby. And then he said, you want to, you want to adopt the baby? And he was like, okay. But she already had all of it already planned because how
Mm,
I came about was she was connected to some very rich people that they can pull strings and stuff like that. And I guess one day it was a lady came in and she had a baby, and a friend of a friend knew the lady.
okay.
And so her boss, which is my mom's boss, introduced her to the person that could potentially help her get a child. And so that's how, but she never sat with me and said anything pertaining to that. All that came
Well,
out.
hold on. I want to go back. She never sat and had the conversation with your father either. She just went and did
Nope,
some
she never
stuff,
had conversation. Like, I don't know what they
and then
said
was
in the,
like, "Hey."
I don't know what they said amongst themselves as far as it was just like my dad was that type of person, like happy wife, happy home. So it was like really whatever
Gotcha.
she said, like he just agreed, he just went on, he tried to make his house and his wife, happy. And my mom was, I'm saying was she's still alive, very bossy and very secretive. So whatever
That's a generation
whatever
thing.
she held inside, like she didn't really touch on it or say you couldn't ask her like common stuff, because the common stuff would lead to like an attitude, or you not being able to feel like you can express yourself. So I think that's where the rebellion came from me,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like what is this lady problem? Like she was always on me, like and that was the rebellion part of
Generational.
me, that
It's
I
it. I
always felt
guarantee
like I
you,
could
it's
never be.
generation. It's
Yes.
generational, and she's a product of her time
Yes.
because that's yeah.
Yep.
That's what they did.
Yep. They don't talk. They don't communicate effectively. She was a very structured, smart, beautiful lady.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to all of that, but when it comes to like just getting into it with me for my health sake and mental state, no, it was none of
Mm.
that. No, I had to figure all that stuff out as a young person. And I think that was the struggle that I had growing up, with fighting. It was because I felt like,
You out here just
everybody
fighting.
was against me. Like everybody was
Yeah, and
against me.
that's why
Like
you were
what? I don't care
fighting.
what you think.
So
Yeah.
it didn't take long for you to just pop off because
It was, it
yeah.
was, it was very, very sudden. Like I didn't fight every day. It was just like, if someone would say something to me, or I think my trigger was in my face. Like if you came close to my face, like I'm swinging.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay.
it was like you still be over there talking and you walking and talking to me, and I think that's a trigger point for me today. Today it's a trigger. Like if you in my face, like I feel like I might have to
Got a
swing.
difference. Okay. Okay, well, I want to turn the corner here. So the next thing I want to get into, I'm going to ask you, when do you decide I want to try and find out who I am and go find these people?
Whew. So it was a long journey. So when I decided that I wanted to actually find my birth family, I probably turned about, God, I think I was maybe 19, maybe 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's some of the first steps you took? Because I know
So
that
it's so
we're
crazy. It's
not,
so
our
crazy.
ages are, I'm not that much older than you. So I know when you were 19, we still in the 90-ish, somewhere
Yes.
in there, early 2000. Yeah.
Yep.
So technology was not what it is
It was
today.
not. Nope. And so this is what happened. So my family, my husband and my kids, they call me like FBI, like, you know, because I will
Me
pick
too.
something to pieces.
Me too.
until I actually find out what I want to find out.
Yep, I'm gonna find out.
And so what I did was I went to the library. I went to the archives in the
Girl, you and
library.
those micro fish films.
I went to the library. I pulled up whatever,
Here in
because
the
the
state of
hospital, they
Florida,
only had
right?
one hospital back then.
Here in the state of Florida, right? Here in
Yes, in
Orlando,
Florida, in
right?
Orlando. Yeah, I went
Yeah,
to
okay.
downtown Orlando Public
Okay.
Library,
Uh-huh.
and I was telling my cousin, I was telling her like, you know what? I think I'm gonna start. I actually asked. I think I asked her like, where should I start? You know, what do you think that a person can find out who they really are? Um, I knew what agency I came from because it was on the paper.
Right.
Um, as far as the process of it, let me rewind. So the process was I went to the library to find if I could find anything that was remotely to give me some kind of clue or
Okay.
direction. And so when
Okay.
I got to the library, the lady said, I asked her, I said, I was adopted and I'm looking for some kind of
Wait, hold
information.
on. I have a question. Wait. I have a question.
Okay.
How are you so sure that you were born in Orlando?
I wasn't. I wasn't sure. It was just the
Okay.
ink that I was
Okay.
not sure. I didn't know where I came
You
from.
didn't know where
I
you
have
came.
no idea.
Okay.
I don't know
Okay.
nothing about my parents. I didn't know nothing where I came from. You know, I
Okay.
didn't
So
have any of that information because it wasn't on the paperwork. The only
okay. So
thing
you
that
got to
was on
start
the
somewhere.
yeah, so the only thing that was on the paperwork was the actual agency, you know, because you got to write the check out to the agency. So that's how
Okay.
I was able to you know, to figure it out or whatever. And because mind you, I think everybody else in my family knew, but I didn't know. So they weren't going to tell me like, you know, I didn't pull them in like my aunties and uncles and stuff like that. I didn't tell
Mm-hmm.
them, you know, that this is
Okay.
what I was doing. It was like a back end of my journey, what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I went to the library and everything, um, because of course my story is broad, it opens up because we didn't talk about that yet. But before that happened, like before I turned 19, you know, I had a baby when I was in high school. So
Oh, okay.
because we didn't talk, we skipped past some
We
sections.
skip past that. Look, we can rewind and go back to that.
Yes, so I was pregnant. I got pregnant my 12th grade year. I got
Okay.
pregnant my 12th grade year, and I actually had a son. And but I lived at this place called Beta. It was for girls who have babies and they got to finish school or whatever. So I lived there while I was
Okay.
pregnant, and then once I had the baby, I lived at this place called Women's Residential Center, which is
Okay.
now it's towed down now, but it used to be on the corner of West Colonial, right
Okay. I
across
have
the
to
street
ask.
from.
Hold on. I have to ask a question.
Okay,
Why did you leave home?
because I got put out because I was pregnant.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm go back to I was a PK kid, and you know sometimes people want to live or want to have this picture of how you know a household is supposed to be when you are when you have a title, so called, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily my dad's, it was not my dad who was like, oh no, you gotta go. It wasn't that. It was more so like my mom. She was just like, you know, having babies at an early age, and no, we can't do that. We can't have that, and we can't have grown people living, up under me. And if you got a baby, that means you grown. That means you can do what you want to do and how you want to do it. And it
Mm,
will be time for you to move out on your own and get your own
it was
place.
not the time for you to do
You
any
know,
of that. You needed all the support in that moment.
and
Okay.
so I think that's when I got like in my zone of um being alone. And it was like
Because you had, even in high school at this point, you still haven't had this adoption conversation.
no, I
Right.
hadn't had the conversation with her. Mm-mm. She would
Oh
never
my
have it. Like, I tried it a few times, but I mean, just like me being molested, it was like, it wasn't a
Is
big
the
deal.
pregnancy is the
Huh?
pregnancy a result of that?
No, no,
Okay.
no. I was molested as a child, like like from younger age to like 10. That's why I started, things started shifting when it comes to me just walking, going straight, not going to anyone's house, but my dad taking me. So I would walk
Okay.
to his house after school.
Right. Okay. So,
Um,
gotcha.
and so going back to the teenage mom, it was, so you pregnant, you're gonna have a baby, you know, you gotta find somewhere to go. Like, you can't stay here. So that's when I lived at Beta. And then once I had the baby, I think I went back to the house for a couple of months or something, and then I ended up going to the residential center, women's
Okay.
residential center. And I stayed there up until I could find, not up until I could find, but until they found me a place. They give you vouchers and they help you get an apartment. So then that's how I got my first apartment, because they gave me like a voucher to help me transition into the world. So not only
I have a
was I
question. I
okay.
have a question because I've been at
It's a
you
lot.
doing a
It's
lot
a lot.
at 19 with this baby, and it just seems like you just out there by yourself. What is your mother?
So at the 19, so 17, so it's
Or
17,
17. I'm
18.
sorry, you're not
So it's
even
17,
19 yet.
18. So I had the baby
17,
when I
18,
turned 18, because I was pregnant
and you
17
just
and had the
out
baby 18.
here, just out here.
Yep.
And what your mom? She's not doing anything. She don't even want to see the
We
new
didn't have
grandbaby.
a really close relationship then. Mm-mm. We didn't start getting back close, and probably until I would say probably in my probably like 20, maybe 22.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it wasn't
And you just out here.
because I
Okay,
was
so
really
now,
mad. I was really mad. I was
sure,
really upset.
sure, sure.
I didn't really, I did talk to my dad. I talked to him. But as far as my mom, it was just like a really, really struggle for me. Because my relationship
I
with
can
her
say
was
so.
really pulled. I feel like it was pulled. I feel like, why would you get a baby and like, why you act like that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm.
how could you get a baby and like, act like she owe you something? Or,
But wait, hold on. Hold on. So you got pregnant at an early age and get kicked out because you're not, uh, you're messing up the picture. But weren't your parents already divorced? So the picture was already messed up, wasn't it?
so no, so they got back married. So it's a two-part. Like, they
They
were
got back
divorced,
married.
and they
Okay.
raised me, they raised me up until excuse me on the timing. I may be off on some of the timing, so let me do that disclaimer. But as a child, so a baby to about, I want to say like 7, maybe 7 or 6, they got a divorce. So
Okay.
they were together for like 8 years, and then they got a divorce, and then they got back married,
Okay.
and then they got a
So by the
divorce
time,
again,
oh,
and then they got back married. So
girl, stop.
yeah, they were married twice. Yep.
No, that's 3 times. So they were married,
So they were married
divorced,
with me, like, to get,
right?
when they got me
When
and all
they
of that stuff,
did,
and then they
then
got a
divorced.
divorce.
So that was the first time.
So that was the first time. So I'm sorry. So it was only 2 times. So, and then the second time when they got back married, the second time they were married for like 10 years, 11 years, and then they got a divorce, and that was it.
Divorced again. Okay, and then that was it.
Hmm.
But when you got pregnant, they were married at the time.
They were married at the time. Yep.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. So you're out of the house. You're a young mother. You have this new little baby. Still haven't had this adoption conversation. But you also have started looking for your birth family
Yes.
at the
So
time. So you're at
when
the
I,
library.
yep, yep, yep. And that was one of the reasons, because like I said, I live like right there, and it was like, it was just one of those things that I needed to find the belonging, because I was so lost at that point. I
So
was
what did
so
you find
lost.
out? Yeah, I could. Yeah. because from how you're describing it, you were just out there.
I
So
really
what did you
was.
find out at the library
So when I went to the library,
in
I
the
was able
90s?
to I was I was able, so it sound kind of crazy, like, no, how she did that, but I don't know. It's just, I'm telling you, like, God has always been on my life. Like, he just like kind of just orchestrated like certain things that that I know now that it was him that was putting me, guiding me to where I need to go. Cause
Sure.
it wasn't like I was alone. I was alone, but I wasn't alone. Cause it was like he was guiding me the whole time. So when I got to the library and I found that they do newspapers. So back then, what's the
Mhm.
exciting part is back then when you get married and when you have a baby, they put it in the newspaper.
Announcement. Yep. Back then,
And
sure
so
was. Yep.
I went and pulled every announcement from the hospital, because they only had one hospital that you're going to have your baby at. And that was Orange Memorial.
Orange Memorial. Girl, take it back.
Yep.
Orange Memorial.
Yep. And so I went to the part where it says, like, I think it's like I got it. I still have it, but it says, like, I don't remember if it says Orange Memorial births or whatever. So I look for my day that I was born, because I think the actual paper comes out, but I think it's a couple of days shy. Like, it's
Okay.
not right on your actual birthday. So you have to give
Right.
and take like a little time. And so I started looking for Orange Memorial, and I started looking for my birthday, but a couple of days after, a few days after.
Mhm.
And so I actually asked the library lady. I was like, hey, I know, I asked her how old she was and all. And then it was an older lady. And so she gave me like a lot of pointers, the lady who worked at the library. And she was
Mhm.
like, they only did it once a week. And I was like, oh, once a week. And then she told me, so I
Mm.
went back to the computer and I typed it in, and like all of them came up, and I just printed out every single last panel, and I started like just Googling like the names to see if like something would ring, something, I don't know. I just started looking to
That
see
is
how.
very smart that you
Yeah,
even thought about
yeah. That's
that.
what I'm saying. They
But you
call
know
me the
what?
FBI.
But you know what? That comes from living in the state that you were born. So you
Right.
didn't have to cross state lines and try and figure stuff out like that. So that was definitely on your side for sure.
Yes, yes. And so the other thing was, which was key to me, was the adoption name, like the agency.
The agency. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Did you reach out
So,
to the agency?
yep, I
Okay.
did.
Oh,
And
I know
so
you
once,
did.
yes, I did. So once I got the newspaper, and I think I went in the white pages. I got because back
Good
then
old white pages.
back then they had the phone books.
Yep.
So the name that I saw, it was like 4 or 5 names that I was like, I wonder how I can get to know a little bit more in detail. And I'm not
What
going to
was
put
it
their
about
name,
those names? Yeah,
I'm not going to put their name out there,
don't
because,
do that.
that's a whole,
Yeah, yeah. That's the
I
whole,
can't
yeah,
tell
don't do
people
that.
names, but
But
I
how,
end up,
what was it about hold on, what was it about the names that stood out for you?
um, I think it wasn't the names. I think it was like the area,
Oh,
because
okay. Okay.
I think it was the area. And I was like,
Okay.
I think maybe I should. Cause where we from, Richmond Heights, and I'm like, if they from Orlando, then you know, my dad, everybody went to Jones, so I'm like Carver Court.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
started
yeah.
piecing stuff together. I'm like
Yeah.
Carver Court, Paramore, Jackson Street, like all those
Yeah,
streets
yeah.
over there. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe they from somewhere over there. So I was, when on the paper it said it had like 2 people that was from over
That
there in that
area.
area. I was like, okay.
Hmm.
So long story short, like the name that was on the paper is actually one of my parents' names, like my mom. It was my mom's. was one of my mom's names. And so,
Wow.
from that point,
Now I have
but
hold on, I have to
at that,
ask.
that's the railroad. Cause now I really honestly don't know where else to go because, I
But how do
think,
you know that's your mom's name on that paper, or if this is something that you figured out later? That's
right. It's something that I figured out because I
you
didn't know
figure out
then.
later,
No, I
right?
saw the name, but I don't know what her name is. So I
Okay,
couldn't put two and two together because I didn't know
right,
what her name was. Like, in the yellow pages, the person, they didn't have like phone numbers or nothing like that, like to the names that was in the newspaper.
right.
So that's when I kind of just like, okay, like I'm here. Like I was at a stopping point where like I didn't know where else to go. So I had asked my auntie and I was
I'm
talking to her.
surprised you didn't call them in the phone because you had phone numbers from the
No, you didn't
right
have the phone.
pages.
Yeah, it didn't have the phone numbers like to those actual people.
Oh, those people, they were unlisted. Okay,
Right. They were unlisted. Like they didn't have the
okay.
numbers connected to them. Because remember, you got to remember that they're teenagers. So it would have been their
Oh,
parents' name.
oh, I didn't think about that. They were young.
Yeah, they were
Okay,
teenagers. Because my
that,
mom was 17 when she had me.
okay, that
Yep.
totally makes sense. They're
So
kids. Yeah,
it
they're
kind
not
of
in the
shut
phone book.
my journey down for a while. It shut my journey down. Like I went to Children's Home Society and I um inquired about, if somebody's adopted, how do they find their parents, whatever, whatever. And so they give you like this whole little packet and you have to fill it out and, all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. So I did all of that. Well, it was a fee then. It was a fee. You have to pay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
have
They're
to
not
pay.
doing it for free.
So I was like,
Yeah,
woo,
yeah.
yeah, that's a lot. Me at my age, like I really wasn't at a place where I can afford that much money. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just let go of it. I continued to do life. Right. I had a baby now. I have to do what's the best interest of the child. And yes, I'm adopted. Yes, I want to know where I'm from because all these questions in my mind of why I do this, why I do that, and all the things
Yeah,
behind me, was still puzzling to me. And especially like when it comes to my relationship with my mom, I keep talking about my mom because my mom was like the person that I lived with majority of my life.
right.
My dad, he was there when we were there, but that part, the younger part, um, I would see him like on the weekends. So
Okay.
I
Even though
didn't
he was
see
at the
him once
uh,
when they were together, I would be with him, but I was younger. Like I was, you know,
right,
birth to, 4 years old, 5 years old.
and
So
then
you
they were
don't really,
separated,
yeah, you don't really
and
get to,
then
I don't remember the conversations that we had when I was a
oh,
child, like like
yeah,
a toddler, what I'm saying.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And so once they got a divorce, I only saw him on the weekend.
So okay, so you go, you do this little bit of digging, you stop, you live life. When do you pick it back up again?
So I pick it back up when, um, I end up moving. I got really sick. I got sick. I had a lot going on health wise. And so I
Mhm.
needed to find out. Every time I would go, they were like, well, what's your history?
Right.
What's your history? I'm like, one day I had got like real mad. I was like, why you keep asking me that? I am adopted, okay? I'm adopted. I don't know nothing about my mama. I
Mm,
don't know nothing about my daddy. This is how I answered them. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know. And so when I left that doctor's office, I like to myself, I was like, whew, like you really blew a gasket, girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's time for you to go ahead and get back on it. Like get back
So
to
how
it.
old were you when you decided to get back on it?
I was uh 30,
Hmm.
30, I think 30, 30,
Okay.
30. Because
So
I
now,
found them.
so now we in the 2000s
Mm,
ish,
yep.
and technology's a little better. So
Yep.
now, what channels do you use?
I went back to the agency.
Okay.
I went back to the agency. Now I'm financially able to pay.
Okay.
So I paid. And when I tell you that I know that it was God, because the first time it was just like such a not going through, not nothing. It wasn't the appointed time. So when I went back that time, I got the papers, I filled them out. I told the lady I was done. She told me to mail them back in. And then I got a phone call and they said, okay, it's going to be this amount. And I was like, whoa, okay. I was like, let's do it. And then she said, you ready? I said, yes, ma'am. And that's how I end up starting the journey of actually unsealing my records and all of that and being able to start the process of the adoption to be able to see. Now, the thing about closed adoptions, sometimes if your parent does not say that they want to see you, like they want you to open up, I wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Okay.
But because my mother checked the box and she was, when I got of age, if I wanted to ever find her, that I would be able to.
I was going to ask you that because I'm like, girl, you had a closed adoption. How'd you do that? But okay.
Yep. And so on that, that's the key point of that, because when you have a closed adoption, it's one little box that they check that they say yes or no.
In the state of Florida, let's say that, because all the
it's in the
laws
state
are
of Florida.
different.
Oh yeah, so I didn't know. I just know that how she described it to me. The only way once my paperwork went through, and once she described to me how the process would work, she was like, luckily your mom is okay with you finding her. Oh, and it's just like an investigation. So then they start the whole process.
Right.
But then by that time, my life is lifing. I had been falsely accused. I lost friends. It was just so much going on in my life where it was when I was sick. I had to have surgery. I going to an oncologist for a whole year because they thought that I had cancer. So it was just like a lot going on in the time where God opened up that door. And I felt like it was time, right? I felt like it was time. I think before all the things that happened before it happened and it wasn't time. Because one, I probably wasn't mature enough to accept anything that was about to take place.
Yep, you weren't ready.
I wasn't mature. Like I probably would have been like what or whatever. But so I just, how they say sometimes that you call it all joy, even in the, even in the midst, like you call it all joy, that
absolutely
things didn't happen how you thought that they should have.
Thought it was, yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's the most important tip, that when you are going to try to find, your people, that
it's got to be at the right time. You
got to be emotional mature. You got to be emotional mature.
You got to be emotionally mature, because I have a very similar timeline. I first looked around 20 and it didn't happen.
Right.
And then I was in my mid-30s when I found my maternal side. And then I just found my paternal side.
How did you feel? Like, how was it for you? Like, was it like, ooh,
girl,
like
that it was a lot.
I know. And it's all at one time. And
it was so many emotions. So many emotions.
Me too.
That's the only way I can describe it. Just a lot of emotions. And actually, the first time that I met my birth mother, it was actually weird for me, because I was like, "Oh, that's the lady that actually carried me."
Girl,
like,
right?
That's weird.
right.
I never thought I would for real lay my eyes on.
Right.
So,
and that's so crazy that you say that, because that was me. So, let me get back. So, once the paper go in and they get the check, they get their money or whatever, then the process started, right? The process started. And I'm going to say, like, right now, I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. I thought I literally was ready, but I was not ready. Once the ball start rolling and we started engaging because it's a process. Like you have a caseworker. The caseworker is the person who is the mediator person between you and your parent.
Oh, okay.
And
And
so
did you find both of them at the same time or
I
one
did.
at a
I was
time?
going.
Oh, uh, uh,
Yeah, I was gonna tell you. I was gonna tell you. I was gonna tell you. I was gonna get into it. And
oh,
so
you got both at the same time?
at the same time,
Oh,
and so
girl.
I think my part about the first time that I actually, because I didn't never communicate with her until about 3 months, 3 months, 3 to 4 months in, because we're
Okay.
going back and forth. We're writing. I'm writing emails to
Mm,
my case manager. My case manager gets it, gives and reads it to my mom. And then my mom write, and then my case manager reads it, and then she sends it to me.
that's so interesting. So you're
Yeah,
interacting, but like not for real, but
right.
you're
So we never
communicating.
talked to each other. We never talked to each other. We only communicated through the emails, but not direct emails, but through my case manager. So that's how the
Mm.
adoption agency has sets it up.
So are you supposed to communicate like this for a certain amount of time before you meet them, or is that totally up to you?
I think it's a process because again, you're meeting people that you don't know. You don't know how it's gonna work out. You want to
Oh,
make sure,
child.
they want to make
I
sure on, I
know.
guess, I think on their end, they want to make sure on their end that, that it's supposed to go how it's supposed to go, because it's very
Child.
emotionally, like it's something, it's a lot. And
Let me
so,
tell you that I didn't have any of that. I just jumped right in.
nope, nope. It was not a jump right in. It was not a jump right in. And even with the
Oh
not
my
jump right in, it was
goodness.
still a lot for
It
me.
was still,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a
it was still a
lot.
lot for me because one day how we actually end up meeting up. Um, so how we end up meeting
Yes,
up, it
that's what I
was,
was about to ask you. How do you
yeah,
finally get from the
how I finally
emails
get to
to,
how I
right?
finally get to meet her is, so my case manager said, "Hey, are you ready?" And I was like, yeah, I think so. And she was like, "You sure
You're
you don't
never
want to do
ready.
anything, or you know you don't want to do anything, you don't want to continue writing?" Then I was like,
Oh, wait. I have a question just popped in my head. Are you
"Okay,
communicating with both your mother and father or just the mother initially?
no, it's just the mother."
Okay, go ahead.
But it's so crazy about that. So, what happened is my mom, she had told me this when I finally met her, but she was like, "Oh, she saw, come up on her TV, like they have like where your name comes up on the TV
Huh?
when you calling on the phone, like on some
Oh,
people's
girl, you
screen,
done
the
took me
name."
back. Yeah, somebody still do, well, back then.
Well,
Yes.
this was what, probably 7 years. It was about
2000.
7 years ago.
Okay. People still,
It was
okay.
about
I
seven
forgot
years
about
ago,
that, but
7 to 8
yes.
years ago.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot all about that.
Um. So she said, like, she kept seeing like the agency name come on her screen,
Okay.
and she said she'll turn the TV off because she lived with
Oh,
her boyfriend, because she
still keep a
knew what it
secret.
was. She knew
Still
what it
keep a
was.
secret.
Yeah, she knew what it was, but she didn't want nobody else to see the name, come across the screen. So I guess the one day that she answered the phone for my caseworker asked her some questions and da da da, and she made like it wasn't her. She was talking to the caseworker like it was somebody else.
Wait, wait.
Yeah,
Why are we
for
still
real,
keeping secrets,
for real. Like it really
ma'am?
happened. Like for real, she really did that.
And she don't even want to. Okay,
She
okay.
she said she after like she just because she said because I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, so it's a period of time where they have to go send letters and to find her because they don't know if she's still at the same address, so it's digging, like the agency is digging.
Yeah.
They're
So
like they have a and whoever, I they have somebody that goes and searches for the people. And
hmm
so they was sending her letters and calling, and she wasn't returning the letters, and she wasn't answering the phone. And then one day she ended up finally, after a couple of months, she finally ended up picking up the phone and like talking. And so
Did
she
she
talked
forget
to the
she checked that box?
yes, she didn't check the box until that conversation. So she checked the box after she had the conversation, and the caseworker was telling her like, yeah, we don't send out certified letters, and and she had the letters.
Oh,
She
okay. So
had
she
the
didn't
letters.
check the box initially. She checked the box at that point.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So
Okay.
wherever she was getting mail at, she never checked the box. But then once she talked to the case, the case manager, and the case manager is like, yeah, we sent out certified. She's supposed to go to the post office and pick,
Right.
she's
Pick
supposed
that
to go
up.
to the post office and pick it up.
Okay. So I'm rewinding in my head. So when you initially talked to the agency, you had to wait a few months
Yes.
before you. Okay.
Because
Before you
she
actually
was
got
not
because she
responding.
wasn't
She didn't
responding.
respond, and then they give like a period of time. I don't remember, like, because again it's so much for me to try to remember all of that stuff, but it was a period of time where the letters went out, and then okay, so like every 2 weeks, then you would have like the letters, and
Okay.
then the second they'll give it had time frames, and then if they don't answer in 2 weeks, then it's just like a child support. Somebody's being served.
Somebody's
They
looking
give
for.
them
Yeah.
a point in time, like 30 days to do this, or respond or whatever, and then they'll go to the next step. So that's how it was. And
Okay.
then when it finally
Okay.
got to the step where she actually picked up the phone and was talking to the case, that's when the ball started rolling.
Okay.
Because
And that's
now
when they were like, "Lucky for you, she checked the
yep,
box."
yep,
So
yep.
okay.
Then the ball started rolling, and I was able to start the letters.
Okay, so fast forward me to the first time y'all meet face to face.
So the
Where do you
first time
meet?
we meet face to face was
Where do
by
you?
myself. I went by myself. So me and
Okay,
her, by that time,
by yourself.
yep. Me and her,
Whew,
by that time, me and her was talking over the phone, right? Me and her was
but
just
still,
talking over the phone. And we got to the point where we were actually communicating over the phone with each other.
okay,
And I think I might have talked to her, a few times or whatever. And then I was like, I want to see you. Like I want to see you. And then she was like, you want to see me? But I think it was my sister's birthday coming up or something. And so she didn't allow me to see her then, because she didn't want to break the news and spoil my sister's birthday. So I didn't get to meet her when we initially were supposed to meet, because she was
okay.
like I don't want to she has a birthday coming up, and I don't want to ruin that for her or whatever. It was at that time, you know what I'm saying? And so, what I'm
Why
gonna
do
do.
people think? And this is just a rhetorical question. Why do people think that if they told someone that they had a baby way back when and put them up for adoption, a child, they told their other kids that that's going to make them angry?
I have no idea.
In my brain,
I
that never.
I thought that the whole time, but hey, who am I? That's what she said. That's what it was.
I
And,
get it. Yeah. I
I
get
mean,
it.
I don't
But
know why people think that. I don't know why people think that, um, when you're adopted, that things just bounce back from start. Like you just go back to the norm. Like ain't nothing happened.
because back in the 70s when you and I were born, that's what they told them. In the 70s and the 60s, that's what they said. Now go ahead and go live your life. They literally said that kind of stuff to them back then.
Right. So,
Now we now know better, but back then that's because that's what they were
and
told.
so when
That's
you
what they were
come
told.
back and it's back to reality, it's like, and I'm gonna get to all of that. So once we end up finally being able to meet, um, I went the first time by myself, and I met her at her job.
Girl, not at her job.
Yep.
Why did you go to this lady's job?
That's what she told me to come.
Oh, okay. On her lunch break?
Well, she worked at like a laundry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she
Okay.
worked at a
Okay.
laundry.
Okay. 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 So, okay. So you can just go and, oh, gotcha. And so how was that? Don't laugh.
Yeah, she worked at a laundry, so it wasn't like, invading no one's privacy or nothing like that. It was like outside, the
Right.
building, you can walk in and walk out.
So how do you feel when you first lay your eyes on her? What do you think? Do you look like her?
When
Like it,
I ain't even gonna lie, when I was like, that's my mama? Like, what? Like, what? Because we didn't, I mean, we look alike, but we favor. And so, like, I'm kind of chocolate, but she was real chocolatier than me. And then I was like, oh, okay.
so
I
wait,
mean, I wear
and
glasses
you
and
guys
all of
go
that stuff and all, but it was just like,
hold on. So y'all never exchanged pictures and
no,
all of this?
no,
Wow. I would have been
no.
like
We
picture.
never exchanged pictures. And in my mind, you know how you are like you adopted. In your mind, you have this look, or you have how this person look because based off of your face, you like,
And you didn't
every
see it
time,
in
and
her.
it's so crazy. I go back to so many times that when I would be walking in a store, I would be somewhere, and I was like, "What if that's my mama?
Yep.
That lady kind of looked like me."
Yep.
I would do that all the time. Like I would be like,
I would
"Man,
do
that
it
lady
too.
look like me." That's fine.
I would look for my nose.
Yeah,
Because for me it was always very distinct.
right.
And not till I found my paternal side did I find it. I found it.
See, me, I don't even think I had a pointer of whether my eyes or my nose. I know my eyes was kind of shiny, and big. So I was like,
You looking for
somebody got to have some big eyes and a big nose, at some point, and a big
I would look
forehead.
for this little button nose of mine, and I
Yes,
never until I met that side. Like,
and he was
and there
like,
it
"Yeah,
is,
that's me. That's me all
and there
day."
it is.
Yep.
But I had the same experience when I met my birth mother. I too was like, oh, oh, I don't look like her, and I
Right.
was disappointed because I didn't.
But everybody's like, but all them say, "Oh, y'all look alike," or y'all, y'all favor y'all, all y'all look alike, or whatever.
I've
But
heard that we favor, but I don't see it. Especially now that I've met my paternal side. That's what I look like, those people for real.
right.
But I didn't see it. And I too was just like, I was disappointed because I'm looking for this genetic mirror.
I was definitely not disappointed, but the way that I thought that she was gonna look was totally different. Because like my hair, how my
Yes,
hair is, and how how my
yes.
skin is and stuff
All
like
that.
that, it was just
Yes.
like, oh, like I didn't think that was my mom.
Yes. I I can check off all those boxes. I had the exact same experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't
So
have none of that. Where
right.
with the
I mean, but
height.
we have, so our cheekbones are like, I have the same, me and her have the same cheekbones. Like we literally, because I have high cheekbones and her cheekbones are high. It's just like this,
Okay.
she's darker than me. So,
Okay. That's so interesting. Okay, so and I know you have this book out, so that's why I'm kind of fast forwarding because I want to know, does do you do your own digging to find your birth father, or is she upfront about? Oh,
so she definitely wasn't up front. Definitely, no. She definitely was not up front.
oh, that's
Nope.
why I asked that question like
Nope,
that.
she
I
was
knew
not up
it.
front. Oh
I
God, she
knew
hated my
it.
daddy. Like she hated my daddy guts. She hated my daddy guts to probably
I
the day that she
knew
passed away.
it.
She hated my daddy guts. It was not a good
So,
thing. It was a horrible, horrible thing. She hated my daddy, but it was so crazy because when I met her, and then the day that I met her, we were all, she called her sister up there. I went to the sister house. Still haven't met the girls yet. Haven't met the sisters. Haven't met nobody, but I met the sister.
okay, so you met your auntie.
Yeah, so I met her. I met my auntie. Like I think I don't know if she's her oldest sister or her youngest sister. No, she's not her youngest sister, but I think she was the sister that's close to her.
Okay.
So both of the sisters knew about me. Both of them knew about me. And so that was the thing. And so I met them, and then um I met I think I met him like a couple of days after I met her, because I end up talking
How?
to one of her sisters, and one of her sisters told me who he was. And I end up going to where they told me that, where he lived at.
So everybody's still in the
No, I'm
area.
lying. They told me that that it was a man, a barbecue man that used to be right there on John Young, or it was right there on Bruton. And they was like, oh, he be with, such and such and such, or he, or such and such knows him. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I went to the little barbecue thing. And then I was like, such and such. And he was like, yeah. And then I was like, you know where I could find him at? And then he was like, who are you? And I'm like, his daughter. And he's like, oh, you cute. Or whatever, And I was like, oh, he ugly? Because I'm a comedian at all times. And I was like, oh, he ugly? And he was like, no. No. And so, and then he ended up sending me to my dad's sister. So
Okay.
I went to my dad's sister first. And then she told me where my dad was. And I can't remember I want to say my sister went with me. I think my sister went with me to
The sister you just met.
Yeah. I want to say she
That
went with
wasn't
me.
mad about you, clearly.
No, no.
Just one. There.
Well, it was actually my oldest sister. The one that birthday it wasn't that one. It was the oldest one.
Okay.
She was the one who went with me. And so we went, whatever, and then I saw him. I talked to him. It was not a good situation. Like, it was real weird. It was real weird. Cause my dad does drugs. So it was like it wasn't a good thing, because it was like,
a pleasant experience.
it wasn't pleasant for me at all. I mean, we talked for a long time. He told me a whole bunch of stuff that it took me a lot to gravitate to. Didn't understand half
on the first meeting?
Yes. Mind you, he on drugs, so
yeah. So
it was nothing. It was no filters.
Yeah. No filter. He was like, well,
No filters.
let
Everything
you know
was
what it is.
all at one time. It was like boom, 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 boom. Like, I was like, whoa, wait.
That's
Let
a
me
lot.
let me get myself together. Let me get myself together. It wasn't like my mom. My mom didn't tell me like everything when she met me. It was just like, it was just like a cordial, how you doing, loving, hugging. But my dad, he was just like, yeah, she told me, he told me the whole story about them. That's how I knew about it. And then I was like, oh, okay.
So they were okay. I know you.
No,
I'm
they
trying
weren't
to.
together. At one, hey, listen, it's a real confusing story. Like, they were together, they weren't together. He left. The whole story of how
They
it
are
said
all.
that I actually got adopted, like given away, because this is what was said. Like, my mom never confirmed it, because all the time, remember, I'm thinking that I came from a hospital straight to, to the adoption.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen like that. That's why me and my mom's relationship got pulled apart, because it was just like so many things that was
Oh my
untold.
gosh.
And so one of her sisters actually told me everything about everything. And then whatever her sister told me,
one of
my
your
dad,
adopted mother's sister, or your birth mother's sister?
my birth mother's sister. Because remember, nobody on my adopting side, they don't know anything
They don't know
about
what you do. Are you still moving in silence? You're doing a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know nothing about me finding going to find my parents on
Whoa.
that side of my family. They didn't know until I actually did it, and I had a barbecue. But we'll get to that.
Whoa.
And so
Wait a minute. Wait a
yes,
minute.
girl, a whole barbecue.
Gather. We'll come get you some chicken, some ribs.
Yes,
And
yes,
brisket.
and meet the family, and meet the family, and meet the family. But that's the
At
kind
the
of person.
barbecue.
But that's the kind of person that I am. That's the kind of person that I am. And so, let me go back to the dad part. And so, my dad and my mom did not have no kind of relationship, and that was based off of why I was giving up because of the relationship. It's neither here or there. It doesn't merit, but it did make me feel really bad and withdrawn once I was told the story that, hey, you actually came home with your mama from the hospital. Because the whole time my mom was saying, that I was, that she gave me away at the hospital. But
Okay, your adopted mom was saying that. No,
no,
your
my
adopted
real
mom not
mom.
talking. Your real mother said that. Got you.
Yes. Yeah, my
Yeah,
real
adopted
mom,
mom not talking.
you know,
Okay,
when I met her, that was what the story
that's the
was,
story she gave
and
you.
she stuck to it. She stuck to it to the day she died. Like, she stuck to it. And it was her sister and my actual auntie. So my dad's sister and my mom's sister, both parents, sisters. They don't communicate with each other. They don't know. They don't talk to each other, but both of them told me the same story. So one day I ended up having a conversation, telling my mom I want to take her, to lunch or whatever. We went out to lunch, and when I tell you from that day, it went downhill. It went downhill because she actually just went totally off. It was a whole situation. Um, she's passed away now. She's no longer here, but um, it was just not a good thing. I told her what was said to me. She was like, they was lying. She was like, this is what happened. I gave you up at the hospital and you went from the hospital. But that did not happen. So I never really honestly got closure from that because between the relationship of us trying to mend, we had my sisters coming in, we got family members, we got all them people on that side, like, with their opinion.
Yeah.
But not really hearing me and hearing what I'm saying. Because, like always, if you're raised with your mom, that's your mom. Like, if somebody's not raised, it's totally different. And I don't think
Very different.
it was to a point where I can't say if they understood or they didn't understand, but the way
They
I
don't
felt was
understand.
that they did not
They
understand.
don't
And the more
understand.
that I could tell them, like, they whole thing was, oh, you look for your people and now we not who you think we are, so you, like, embarrassed. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was just so many lies tied into that. Now I know that you my mama, but who, like, what is, like, who am I? What's
Yeah.
going on? Like, why now that I have an older sister and then I have a sister, I have me, and then I have a sister right under me.
Mm-hmm.
So you kept two, but you gave me. So then that was the whole open of the book. Like, why did you give me? So now it went from I was adopted to what was so different about me that you couldn't keep me. And then you had another one right behind me. Right. So that was my whole thing to talk to her about. But she would never, like, she just wouldn't talk about it. She just wouldn't, open
Well,
up to me.
what do your sisters talk about what their childhood was like, what it was like in the home?
No, we honestly don't have a relationship like how we should have one. We don't get into that saying, when me and my mom stopped talking, it was like more on me, like, oh, Kim got an attitude, she did, she that, she found us and now she don't want to do this, and now she act like she this and that. And it wasn't, they couldn't even understand, like, what I was going through at this moment. Like,
Yeah.
I have a family that I'm seeing them in person. Like, I get it. Like, I finally can meet them. But then on the back end, it was lies tied into that. And so me trying to ask questions, it was like, girl, why you asking questions? Like, your mama here, like, what you worrying about it for? You found your mama. That's
Ooh,
it. That's good. Let it.
ooh.
So that's how it was. It
I
was, you
had that
found your
same
mom.
experience.
What are you worrying
Let it
about
go. What
now?
else do you want? I had
Right? And so
had that experience. I had
we
someone
kind of
on.
broke apart for a while. Like, I kind of was like, nah, man, I can't do this. And it was just, like, so crazy. Like, it was just so crazy. Like, my auntie was screenshotting on Facebook, like, what I would say, like, if I would mention anything about them or something, she would screenshot it and take it back to them. It was just, like, so much drama and stuff. And I was just like, man, this ain't what I was raised up in. I don't do this. right?
You weren't raised in that, and you weren't ready for that.
Right. And that's when I told you in the beginning, when I said I was not ready for it. I was not ready for all that. If I had to redo it again, I would have did it differently because I
Mm,
honestly was not ready. And it wasn't the fact that I was embarrassed of them.
mhm.
It was me trying to understand what the heck was going on. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying?
And them not understanding why you're trying to understand what's going on.
Right. Because, like one
Because
of my sisters was like, we were equally affected. No, we were equally affected. Like y'all was raised by your mother and I was raised by somebody else. So that's not, there's no equal in that.
and they didn't even know you existed
They
until
didn't know I existed. No,
right.
no, they didn't
So
know I existed. They had no idea
it's
that they had
interesting
another sister.
statement. Right.
And so
That's
once we began to try to build that bond and stuff like that, it was just like, I don't know how you build a bond. I wouldn't say that it was destroyed, but it was just like, I just wish now that I would have built a relationship with my mom first and then went into that
mm,
because
I think that it depends because for me, I built the bond first with my, and this is on the maternal side. I built the bond first with my brothers, and then because I really don't think, and even now, 13 years later, my birth mother, she still doesn't know what to do with me. That's the only way that's the only way I can verbalize that. She don't know what to do with me. She doesn't. And so
I don't think they don't. I think they see you and I cannot talk for her. Like I cannot talk for my mom. My mom has passed. But it's just like when I feel like they're like the person, like you are you, and they want to control how you feel and how you should think and how you should move when you can't.
because they don't understand.
Right. See, my mom thought what like we did a couple of counseling sessions and she went to two of them. She was like, she didn't want to come back because she could not like say like this is what it is. Like she would not, for the life of her, she would not be like this. It was like, well, I think we should just bounce back. She told the counselor like, I don't understand what the problem is. Like I'm here now, like that's her thing. I'm here now, like what's next? But it wasn't that. It's
It's
you
not.
have to be
It's,
honest with me from the beginning. How can I come into something that is a lie and then be okay with it? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I
that's
think you
just
just
me.
verbalized something for me that I've
Yeah,
been trying to figure out how to verbalize when it comes to my birth mother. Is you got to communicate.
you have to.
And if you're not communicating, what are we doing?
Right. But I think when you said that you rather you had the relationship with the brother, but I think where God opened that door for me for my mom, it was for a reason because like I said, my mom passed away like
Mm,
4
how
years
long
after I
after?
met her.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So I feel like God specifically opened up that door because he already knew what was going to
Right.
happen. And he
Right.
wanted both of us to get a closure, which we didn't get a closure because I didn't even know she had passed away. I found out that she passed away on social media. Well, my daughter found out that she passed away on social media. Like I didn't even have, because mind you, I wasn't talking to them. So I hadn't seen her because she was sick. I think I saw her like twice while she was sick and I thought she had got better, but I
Mm,
didn't know. And so, when she was in the hospital, I saw her when she was in the hospital and she got released, but I think like she got a little better, but she didn't get completely better. And so in that time, she went back to the hospital. They didn't call me, I guess, when she went back to the hospital, you know. So she actually passed
and she
away in the
passed away.
hospital.
Nobody called you.
No. Mm-mm. Nope. Nope. I didn't find
Oh
out
my
until
God.
she had already been passed away a day. Like the day had went, and then another day, and then they came over. But by that time, I didn't want to see them because at that time I was back angry again. Like I didn't
Sure.
even get to say goodbye.
Has nobody called?
Nope. Because we weren't talking. We were not
Ooh,
communicating. Nope.
my goodness.
I never got to say goodbye. And that was my thing, that even if you're not talking to me, you talk to, your husband talks to my husband, so on and so on. They could have got the message and I could have went to the hospital and saw her at least, but their thing was, oh, you wasn't worrying about her like all this time,
Oh my God.
while we were taking care of her, while we were doing that. But it wasn't that. I
It
didn't
wasn't,
know,
it's not that.
I didn't know,
Not that.
you
It's
know what I'm
so much
saying?
more that if you've not walked in these shoes, it's real hard for you to understand
And that's what I try to tell people,
what
we
this
all
is.
have like mutual friends. Like it's so crazy. Like my life is just so crazy that
Yeah,
me and my
because you grew up
sisters,
in
we have
the
mutual
area.
friends,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
and to go, they see one part of us, we all happy because we found each other, da 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 da. And then the next minute it's like we're divided because, either
Because you're not acting right, Kim.
because I'm not because I can't get it together. Because I
You
cannot get it
can't get it
together.
together.
I don't know what I want. I don't want to. I don't know what I want. I'm just that person.
Crazy.
And
Crazy.
so that's how
Okay.
it went.
Oh, okay. Whew. Okay. I need to.
I
So I do
told you it
want
was
the
a
people to
lot.
go get your book, and I know that you haven't told. You've done very well at making people go, "Oh, I need the book because now I need the meat that she left out." Because I know you did. I could tell how you were telling the story.
Yeah,
There's,
you can't set
yeah,
it up.
and you're right. You're not supposed to. You did. You threw out just enough to make people okay. So tell them the name of the book and where they can go get it, so they can
So
get
the
the rest of
name of
the
the
meat.
book is Faces of Life. I have one right here actually. Um, so it's Faces of Life,
Faces
the
of Life.
pain and positioning for greatness.
Okay.
So, and it
Okay.
can be found on Amazon. It's on Walmart. It's on Barnes and Nobles. So
And I will put the link in the description on
yes. And
YouTube.
then the second sequel, it's not out. It'll be back
Sequel.
out this year. Is um Silent Cry Loud Roar.
Come on.
So this
That
is
is
the
the book.
sequel to this. So
Okay.
this is the childhood. This is the childhood, and then this goes into the grown, like middle, grown woman. I mean
Okay.
teenager. So it goes into the mid adult. So the shelter and all of that. It goes into that. To who I am today as the business
Okay.
owner and all of that.
And I will again be putting the link in the description on the YouTube channel for her book. Before we go, the last question, or rather the last thing I want you to do for us, I do with everybody. If you had any advice to give to somebody that wants to do the search and reunion journey, what would you tell
I would. It's a couple of things, but the most important thing is um believing that who you think you are or who others think you are is not the important key to your life. Is you
them?
building and knowing who you are in your growth, in your journey, and being patient with yourself. And if you ever get to the point where you want to find your birth parents, you need to make sure that you kind of do it in kind of order where you're not going to put yourself back in a position where you're feeling guilty or rejected again, because it can definitely cause you to fall back into that cloud of not being able to, how do you say it? Oh, can you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, not being able to feel who you really want to be. Because my thing is sometimes you see the glam, you see the glitter, you see all of this stuff, but who you really are is more valuable, like the person you built, is more valuable than the person who you think you are. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
You know, so I would definitely say, like, take your time. Like, don't rush it. Make sure you're ready for it. You know,
Because you never know what
I may
you
not
don't know
like,
what's
I
on
may
the other
not have the
side.
plans. It's like, I feel like I may not have the plan. I may not have it planned all together. I may not have been planned, like been planned by my parents, but I was always a purpose by God. And that's how you have to go into it. Like, adoption gave me more than just a family. It gave me a fire for my life. So me being adopted, it just kind of, the whole situation just kind of gives me a fire, and it refuels who I am today as a woman. So a person should never forget, just because you was adopted, that doesn't define who you are. Just because you don't know who you belong to, because you belong to God. So that's the most important thing, right? You know, a parent is just housing you, right? You do not have to know where you come from to know where you're going. If that makes any sense.
That makes total sense. That's the mic drop. And I want to thank you for coming to share your story. All of it. You've had us up, you've had us down, you've had us But I was ready for that because you told me that. But again,
Right.
thank you so much for sharing your story. And I don't want you to leave me, so hang on one quick second. And on that note, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie, what they get good? Oh yeah, what is the one?